pinpoint selected targets and reach troops in the most localized areas. Leaflet shells can also strike at combat zones in which aircraft would be impractical. In addition, these message-filled missiles are able to penetrate densely wooded areas. Leaflets are printed a color in vivid contrast to the terrain they are aimed at. They are best fired at twilight, since it is still light enough for the enemy to see where they land, yet dark enough to cover him when he gathers up the literature, which is going to him, Air Express. The loudspeaker platoon of the Loudspeaker and Leaflet Company operates directly with the frontline unit. These loudspeakers are used to get across timely messages to the enemy in close proximity. Furthermore, illiteracy is prevalent among the Chinese and North Koreans, so the spoken message makes our meaning thoroughly clear. The hazards met by the men operating these loudspeaker units is described by Sergeant Leon Nelson of Poland Springs, Maine.
I do remember one incident that pretty well typifies our SIWAR operation on the front lines. I think it was last winter that our SIWAR team, our loudspeaker team, had just set up its loudspeaker and microphone and sound equipment on a ridge overlooking a company of Chinese communists, which were completely surrounded by United Nations Command forces. Well, once the surrender appeal was underway, the broadcast was in progress, scores of artillery rounds started pouring in, and mortar. The Chinese communists obviously were zeroing in, and needless to say, once the broadcast was completed, our SIWAR team didn't hang around for long. And incidentally, neither did the company of Chinese communists. Now, from what I've told you, you may think that our loudspeaker men work under rather adverse conditions. They do. But as any SI warrior will tell you, these are the risks that the frontline infantry soldier takes every day.
When more mobility is desired, loudspeakers are mounted on tanks. The physical force of the tank, coupled with the psychological force of the loudspeaker, is an ideal example of psychological warfare's most effective performance. A similar combination is the airborne loudspeaker. Mounted in a tactical aircraft, it can reach enemy territory inaccessible by ground loudspeakers, and it can cover both civilian control and guerrilla areas. Because of their nostalgia value, the voices of Korean and Chinese women are often used. Some enemy soldiers feel that if a woman can fly over their positions, the communists must be losing the war. In the time that lies ahead, still newer methods of propaganda are growing out of research and experimentation. But the job of carrying the truth to the people goes on all the time. By loudspeaker in the streets and by radio in the ruins of bombed homes, a bewildered people listen, learn, hoping for something better. The voice of the United Nations carries on where bullets and shell fire cease, bringing hope to many for the first time. For psychological warfare and its media of expression are dynamic, always learning surer ways of breaking the spirit of the enemy. The value of psychological warfare today is described in Tokyo by Colonel J. Woodall Green.
Psychological warfare has been well established as a modern military weapon. Its usefulness in cooperation with other military weapons has been thoroughly proven in Korea. The target of psychological warfare is against the enemy's mind, while the other weapons, their target is the enemy's body. Facts are the ammunition used by SIWAR, and the enemy's job is to keep unpleasant facts from their people. Therefore, our job is to break this barrier of the communists and to get the truth and the facts to the communist people. In the front line, SIWAR works against the enemy's morale to make him suspicious of his officers and to cause him to worry about the conditions back home, and thus to lower his fighting efficiency and to make him think of surrendering or deserting.
These are the Psy-War soldiers. They alone do not win victories in combat, but they have a potent weapon which they use to the utmost to support the infantrymen and the tanker in inflicting decisive defeat upon the enemy. Yes, in modern warfare, our military leaders are finding that words and ideas are highly effective weapons. Next week, our cameras will take us to Korea for interesting stories and anecdotes that seldom reach the public eye. This is Captain Carl Zimmerman, inviting you to be with us then.
The Big Picture is a weekly television report to the nation on the activities of the Army at home and overseas. Produced by the Signal Corps Pictorial Center. Presented by the U.S. Army in cooperation with this station. You can be an important part of the big picture. You can proudly serve with the best equipped, the best trained, the best fighting team in the world today, the United States Army.